Poland held its largest military parade since the Cold War in its capital, Warsaw, yesterday. The parade marked the 103rd anniversary of Poland's victory over the Soviet Union in the Battle of Warsaw. Over 2,000 soldiers and over 200 pieces of military equipment marched down Warsaw streets. The show of strength comes amid the presence of Wagner mercenaries close to Poland's border with Belarus. Chinese Defense Minister Li Shangfu arrived in Belarus's capital Minsk today. He met Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Krenin. The two leaders discussed increasing cooperation between China and Belarus. Russia's defense ministry officially released footage showing its Navy personnel boarding a cargo ship in the Black Sea. The video also showed Russian soldiers detaining and questioning the captain and the crew of the ship. On Sunday, a Russian ship had fired at the cargo ship after it failed to respond to a demand to halt. After the firing incident, Russian soldiers stormed the ship. Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke to Mali's leader about the recent coup in Niger. Putin called for a peaceful and diplomatic outreach to bring stability in the West African nation. Putin also pledged more support for Mali and Niger. Niger's newly appointed Prime Minister Lamine Zaine visited neighboring Chad yesterday. This is his first foreign visit after becoming the Prime Minister. He was appointed as the Prime Minister last week by Niger's military junta. United Nations officials say the war in Sudan is spiraling out of control. They added that the African nation was running out of medical supplies and food. UN reports say war-related sexual assaults have increased by 50%. In addition, millions of civilians are facing rampant looting, power cuts, and irregular water supply in Sudan. Kenya reinstated some fuel subsidies yesterday. This is just 30 days after the subsidies had been removed. The U-turn comes after days of violent protests against the government. Subsidies have been brought back in hopes of stabilizing rising fuel prices. Clashes erupted in Libya's capital Tripoli yesterday. At least 27 people were killed and more than 100 were wounded in the violence. Tensions rose after the detention of an army commander by what's called the Special Deterrence Force, which controls Tripoli's airport. However, the army commander was later released. Hours after that, fighting erupted between the army and the Special Deterrence Force. Egypt hosted the foreign ministers of Arab nations in its capital Cairo yesterday. They discussed the way forward to provide international support to Syria. New forms of investing in Syria were also discussed by the leaders. In May, the Arab League reinstated Syria after a suspension of 12 years. The Speaker of Indonesia's upper house has proposed to discuss legal means of delaying elections. This would be done to incorporate election delays due to the pandemics, natural disasters, or wars. Indonesia is the world's third largest democracy and holds elections every 5 years. The next round of national elections is in February 2024. North Korean officials say that a US soldier, Private Travis King, wants to take refuge in their country. According to the officials, King said he faced ill treatment and racial abuse within the US Army. Pyongyang spokesperson said that King has accepted to deliberately crossing the border. In May, Private King dashed into North Korea after crossing the border illegally. He has been in North Korean custody since then. A former agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, has pleaded guilty to conspiracy. Former FBI official Charles McGonigal has admitted to working with Russian oligarchs who are under sanctions by the US. According to US officials, he received $17,000 to launder money for Russian businessmen. The charges carry a prison term of up to 5 years for the federal agent. A US judge is scheduled to sentence McGonigal in the month of December. Santiago Pena was sworn in as Paraguay's president yesterday. Pena took oath outside the government palace in the capital, Asunción. The ceremony was attended by several South American leaders. Taiwan's Vice President William Lai also attended the ceremony. After the swearing-in, Pena said that he would take ties between his country and Taiwan to newer heights. Moving to climate, forest fires are raging on a mountain in Spain's Canary Island. The fire started on Tuesday night. Spanish authorities have ordered the evacuation of 4 villages in the nearby area. Meanwhile, helicopters sprayed water over the area. So far, the flames have destroyed about 130 hectares of land. The death toll from devastating wildfires in the US state of Hawaii has crossed 100. More than 2,000 structures have been destroyed by the blaze. Roughly 86% of them were residential buildings. The wildfire is the deadliest that the US has seen in more than a century. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has said that he plans to travel to Hawaii as soon as he can. He said he will review the recovery efforts. Joe Biden has been facing criticism for his lack of response to the island's deadly fires. Hawaii residents have complained about the slow pace of the federal government's action to the disaster. Ice factories in Iraq's capital of Baghdad are seeing soaring orders. This comes as a heat wave continues to scorch the country. In areas with no electricity, local people are using ice cubes to preserve food. Iraq has faced extreme electricity shortages for years. Australia broke several temperature records in the month of July. Across the country, maximum temperatures were overall about 1.2 degrees Celsius above average. Cities like Sydney, Melbourne and Hobart recorded their highest July temperatures on record. Amidst the extreme temperature, scientists have warned that the climate crisis is accelerating. Heavy rain led to swollen rivers crashing through western Japan. This follows the landfall of Typhoon Lan. Footage shows gushing water from a swollen river. This has caused roads by the riverbank to cave in. Rescuers have been searching for more survivors after landslides hit the Indian city of Shimla. At least 57 people have been killed in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Torrential rains have caused hillsides to collapse. It has buried homes and dragged down buildings. Now on to business and tech. Netherlands has entered a recession. According to official data, the Dutch economy shrank 0.3% in the second quarter. In the previous quarter, it contracted 0.4%. The recession came as surging inflation drove up food prices and energy bills. Inflation in the European country stood at 6% in the second quarter of 2023. Many residents in the United Kingdom are struggling due to the cost of living crisis. This has led to a rise in the number of homeless people in the country. Data shows that the number of households living in temporary accommodation reached a new high of 105,000. This is for the first quarter of this year. Private equity group TPG Capital has approached accounting giant Ernst & Young. It has reportedly proposed to buy a stake in the firm's consulting arm. In September last year, EY announced its plans to split its audit and consulting units into 2 companies. This was after regulators voiced concerns that the audit arm would not function fairly if it was employed as a consultant by the client. However, in April this year, EY called off the plan after facing resistance from some of its partners. Hyundai has said that it will buy a local plant of American automaker General Motors. This will be done by the South Korean car maker's Indian unit. The financial details of the purchase have not been made public. The deal will allow the GM to exit India. It stopped selling cars in the country in 2017. However, it was unable to completely exit because of its failure to find a buyer for the plant. Swedish retailer H&M is investigating its suppliers in Myanmar. It is looking at 20 alleged instances of labor abuse at the garment factories. This comes after a British human advocacy group tracked 156 cases of alleged worker abuse in the country. This is for the period of February 2022 to 2023. This was a steep rise from the previous year when it recorded 56 such cases. Canada's corporate ethics watchdog has said it is investigating fashion giant Ralph Lauren's Canadian unit. This is over the retailer's supply chain and operations in China. The company allegedly used or benefited from the use of forced labor from the Uyghur community. In July, Canada launched a similar investigation into shoemaker Nike. An analyst from ratings agency Fitch has warned that it may be forced to further downgrade American banks. The downgrade could include banks like JP Morgan Chase. This comes after Fitch cut its assessment of the US banking industry's health in June. It had lowered the score, citing pressure on the country's credit rating, gaps in regulatory framework, and uncertainty about interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. Lawmakers in Kenya will investigate the use of TikTok in the country. This comes after it received a petition from a citizen. The petition demanded that the social media company be banned for allegedly being inappropriate. The petitioner complained that the app's addictive nature would lead to a rise in depression and anxiety among the youth. According to reports, social media company X delayed access to certain links. These links were for content on news media websites like Reuters and the New York Times. Clicking on the link resulted in a delay of about 5 seconds before the web page loaded. The delay was also seen for links that directed to competitor websites like Facebook and Instagram. Google plans to train 20,000 Nigerian women and youth in digital skills. It will also provide a grant of $1.6 million to help the government create 1 million digital jobs in the country. The program will be facilitated by Google's philanthropic arm in partnership with local Nigerian organization. Moving to sports, in cricket, Indian wicketkeeper Rishabh Pant was reportedly spotted batting. This is the first time Pant was seen playing since 2022. Rishabh Pant was off the field since his car accident in December last year. He had sustained major injuries in the incident. Indian cricketer Prithvi Shaw has been ruled out of the County One Day Cup in England. This comes after he sustained a knee injury during a fixture against Durham. Shaw has scored 429 runs in 4 matches for his county team. The county side say Shaw won't be playing the rest of the matches. England's Ben Stokes may reverse his ODI retirement decision. Stokes has reportedly said he is seriously thinking about it. This is as per reports by the British media. Ben Stokes had retired from the one-day format last year. He said he wanted to focus on captaining the Test team for England. In football, US football club Inter Miami reached the League's Cup final. Inter Miami, led by Lionel Messi, defeated Philadelphia Union 4-1. The goals were scored by Messi, Joseph Martinez, Jordi Alba and David Ruiz. Miami will either face CF Monterrey or Nashville SC in the finals. English Premier League club Chelsea have reached an agreement with Southampton for midfielder Romeo Lavia. The deal is worth over $70 million. Lavio has been given permission to undergo a medical at Chelsea. Brazil forward Neymar has become the latest player to join the Saudi Pro League. He has left PSG and signed for Al Hilal. The deal is reportedly worth around $175 million. PSG has reportedly agreed to a transfer fee of $98 million. In tennis, world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz reached the last 16 of the Cincinnati Open. Spain's Alcaraz defeated Australia's Jordan Thompson 7-5, 4-6 and 6-3. The match went on for 3 hours. Gael Monfils of France won the first round of the Cincinnati Open. Monfils defeated the 13th seeded Cameron Norrie. He lost the first set 3-6 against Norrie but rallied back 6-4 and 6-3 in the next two sets. Tunisian tennis player Ons Jabeur won in the second round of the competition. She beat Angelina Kalina of Ukraine 6-3, 6-7 and 7-6. World number 5 Jabeur's next opponent is world number 1 Iga Swiatek. Australia is planning to launch a Pacific Rugby Championship. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said his country will allocate $4.5 million for the event. The Pacific Championships will feature teams from Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, Tonga, Papua New Guinea, Fiji and the Cook Islands. In entertainment, the Writers Guild of America is mulling over a counter-proposal by some major Hollywood studios. The offer by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers addresses some of the major sticking points. This includes the use of artificial intelligence to supplant writers, the disclosure of streaming viewership data, and the preservation of writers' rooms on television series. Actor Angelina Jolie has hired her youngest daughter, Vivian Jolie Pitt, as her assistant on the upcoming Broadway production of The Outsiders. Vivian Jolie Pitt is just 15 years old. Angelina Jolie said that her daughter reminds her of her mother as she is not focused on being the center of attention but in being a support to other creatives. American actor Katie Stevens recently reflected on her experience with postpartum depression. She said, and I quote, "For me, anxiety got way worse. I was just overwhelmed all the time, and I personally have a severe allergy to asking for help." Stevens opened up about her postpartum journey 6 months after she welcomed her child with husband Paul Giovanni. Katie Stevens is famous for playing the role of Jane Sloan in the drama series The Bold Type. Actor Busy Phillips has shared her struggles with attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. She said that before she was diagnosed, her symptoms manifested in a variety of ways which impacted her daily life. The actor revealed that her ADHD manifested as depression, anxiety and low self-esteem for years before she was properly diagnosed. She added that medication for ADHD is the only thing that has helped. Actor Matthew McConaughey and his family have stepped up to contribute to the relief efforts for survivors of the Hawaii wildfires. The actor announced that his family would be sponsoring a flight of emergency supplies. McConaughey said that the flight will be filled with hundreds of thousands of emergency supplies for children and families that have been impacted. Singer Nick Jonas has spoken about the latest trend of fans throwing things at artists during the performances. The Jonas Brothers band member said this needs to stop. It comes after he became the latest celebrity to have objects hurled at him during his concert. Earlier, celebrities including BB Rexha and Drake have had objects thrown at them in the middle of the performances. K-pop band BTS's RM has assured fans that the group will return in 2025. All members will be back after completing their mandatory military service in South Korea. RM revealed that his bandmate Suga also talked about the love they received from their fan base, and the fan base is called the Army. The 28-year-old thanked fans for their constant love and support. Singer Madonna has rescheduled her Celebration tour dates. She had postponed the tour following a health scare. The Queen of Pop was recently hospitalized due to a bacterial infection. However, Madonna will still perform across the globe, including London, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden and Spain. British actor Darren Kent has died at the age of 36. Kent is famous for his appearance in Game of Thrones and Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. The actor was battling osteoporosis, arthritis, and a rare skin disorder. Kent also appeared in movies including Mirrors, Snow White and The Huntsman, My Feral Heart and Love Without Walls. And finally, it is King of Rock and Roll Elvis Presley's death anniversary. The musical icon died in 1977 at the age of 42 due to a heart attack. Presley was famous for his melodies, flamboyant personality and greased back hair. Some of his all-time hits include Burning in Love and Can't Help Falling in Love.